We're live at ILTACON 25. I'm with Melanie Prevost, who is the Senior Director of Infrastructure and Technical Support Services at Vinson, Elkins. But more importantly, to me, we've been friends and we've co-presented, and we've had such a marvelous time learning and growing together. So thank you for finding some time and joining me this afternoon here on the floor.
Well, thank you for inviting me. I'm just thrilled to be here.
You're welcome. You know, the first time we had a chance to work together, we were talking about imposter syndrome, and we just created this whole thing on the fly. And it's no surprise to me that you're on the cutting edge again, and you're working with neurodiversity and access, and that's a passion for you. And technology is helping that in so many ways. Can you just tell us a little bit about this project that you're working on?
Sure. I'm speaking at a session at 3:30 on Thursday, and it's called Raising the Bar on Accessibility. And it's a topic that I didn't know what I didn't know, and I didn't know what I needed to know. As a matter of fact, when they approached me, I actually told them, I don't think I have any value to add to this session. Let me give you a couple of names. And they said, no, we want you, and let's talk about where we think you can add value. And one of the things that quickly came to the top of the list was I didn't realize how many people in terms of neurodiversity and those traits, how much they rely on what we today call generative AI or AI in general. So applications and tools like Copilot and ChatGPT and Grammarly, depending upon the neurodiversity trait, it really is a lifesaver for people with these traits. For instance, one of the young men that I invited to the conversation, he's ADHD and dyslexic. He explained to me how he learned that he had this trait, and how he had to teach himself how to better communicate, and how he really relies on Grammarly and Copilot to record conversations and meetings so that he can understand. He doesn't process the information as quickly. And so having that information there, he can actually look at it, it's summarized. He can pretty much, within a couple of minutes, really derive that he's on the right track, that he has properly understood where the conversation is going, and that he can respond.
And what's next there? That makes so many doors. I mean, so many doors then open up.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Because he is a user support specialist and a trainer. He uses this every day in his interactions with attorneys, with legal assistants, with business professionals, and it helps him to be very responsive. He's more productive. And you know, the thing that really resonated with me is, and we just started talking about imposter syndrome, how it helped his confidence.
There you go. You know, we talked about, we were chatting before we got started here when we were talking about the rate of change and adoption and how open people are. There doesn't seem to be a lot of fear. There seems to be more enthusiasm than concern or fear. How is that resonating with you?
It does, especially in this space, because what it really is about is open up a safe space.
Yeah.
And when you open up that safe space, people, the fear leaves. They feel safe enough to ask, to invite you into the conversation. And that's where the real power is.
You know, we're seeing a lot of, what I'm noticing is there's a lot of early adoption, right? So, we're all familiar with crossing the chasm and, the innovators and early adopters and early majority. We've got those three categories here for sure. So some people are using ChatGPT to plan recipes, and some are just taking vacations and trips. But the fact that you're using it at home, I think, is allowing and accelerating a lot of adoption in the office. What are you seeing at Vinson right now in terms of from the innovators to the early adopters to the early majority? How are you experiencing that at Vinson?
Every end of the spectrum. You have people who are just really dipping their toe, as you said, recipes, restaurants, recommendations. You've got people who I know how to write, but I've got a lot of things to do. So how can I utilize this tool to get to next quicker, more efficient? And I can take my ideas, I can take my draft, I can upload it into one of these tools and get a really quick return. understanding that, you know what, it's not going to be perfect all the time. I've got the human part of me needs to look this over, needs to make sure that it's accurate, that it's got my perspective and my point of view. But that little bit of time of putting that in, it saves so much time at the end of the day.
I'm finding, for me, this is reminding me a lot of, recipes in the kitchen, right? So I'm beginning with this very simple, I'm baking cookies, the Toll House cookie where you sort of slice them up and you put them in the oven. Like, look, I got a cookie. And, you're actually making the cookie. And then there's somebody who's got like a cookie factory, but we're all coming at it together. I think there's something about leadership in major law firms today, and kind of where I'm going with this is there's something about like, there are factories inside law firms today. There are cookie factories, right?
Yes.
And then there's just those that are coming. I think what I'm really trying to say is we're learning much more quickly together than we ever did before with anything else. E-discovery was sort of like the last big aha, if you will, in terms of seismic change in the industry of the business of law, billions of dollars, very complicated. This is all happening much faster and with more ease.
Faster with ease, and I'm seeing a lot more collaboration from
Yes.
from groups that probably, we had our own lanes, we were working on our own thing,
That's right.
but we're having to learn at this faster rate, and we find that, we all get to the next step faster together, which is, I think, one of your coin terms.
Yes, for sure. I do think that that's really interesting that we're finding our own use cases. I'm going to mix metaphors here now. I'm like, well, it's like Legos. If I see you building the Eiffel Tower and all I have is this little farm here, I'm like, well, if you can do it, I can do it. Like, well, it was complicated. Maybe we could do it together.
Exactly.
Can you show me how those things work? And so there is a bit of a Lego building here where some of them are mechanical and some of them are just big and some of them are complex, but together there's something about these corners coming together. What are you noticing in terms of who you're working with at Vinson that I was never working with them before and now I am?
Our communications team.
Really?
Yes, really. We're working with them to really explain to the firm, to the partners, to the business professionals who we are. I mean, you look at my title. People look at my title and they don't know what I do. What does infrastructure mean? They don't know. So we are utilizing and working with them to help us tell our story. And who better than our communications team?
Interesting. What are you most looking forward to in the next couple of days here at ILTA and next for the rest of the year? What's up for you?
I've got a couple of big projects that I'm working on, a couple that we just finished, still looking forward to completing those. Here at ILTACON, I'm really just taking the next day and a half to squeeze in as many vendor partners as I can, because I really want to see, all the new companies. In your session, I sat next to, an entrepreneur with a new startup company that had 10 or 15 employees a year ago. He has 150 today, and it's just growing like you would not believe. Sitting across from those people and hearing their story, looking at the innovation that they brought to what we do on a day-to-day basis, I think that's what keeps what we do fresh.
You think that we have more of an opportunity now than ever before to be entrepreneurs and intrapreneurs? There's a lot of creativity being unleashed.
Yeah.
And you've been doing that your whole career.
I have, and I took really a lot of joy in telling people. I sat next to the owner of
The founder,
the founder of Legore. I mean, that's just amazing.
Everybody's very accessible. I mean, I do find, I think in years past, maybe ILTA has been a little bit siloed.
Yeah.
If you weren't, I don't know, if you weren't like a high tech, high chops guy, gal guy, maybe you didn't kind of get it. I think this has really become, it's democratic. It's very open. What's the word that I'm looking for here? There's something, I think we're all baking cookies. I can't put it any other way. I know that that's not terribly savvy or smart or sophisticated, but I do feel like we're all in the kitchen. We've all got like our little chef's jackets on and we're all baking cookies together and sharing, to your point, and sharing recipes. I think some people have a secret recipe and you should have your family's secret recipe. My mother's coffee cake, she's not going to give you that recipe, but she'll give you most of it, but not the little thing that makes it like that extra vanilla-y. That's fine, but I think most people here are really sharing at a very open rate. What do you think?
I actually had this conversation 10 minutes ago, and the word that the person used was connected. People are so much more connected
Yeah.
at this conference. And there's a feel. You can feel it in the air. You can feel it in the conversations. Something changed. And we're not quite sure where that started. We don't know if it was the keynote that kicked it off, about joy, or just everyone came here with expectations because of the rapid rate of change.
I think there's also something, I'll close on this. I think there's something about our willingness as a community to be vulnerable and to, one, admit that we need help, and two, offer that help. And I think that comes from I keep going back to e-discovery, but that was a challenging slog for 10 years.
Yes.
And I don't think any of us want to do it alone.
Yes.
And I think there's something about just the joy. I mean, I'll go back to joy. There is a joy of like, I want to tell you about this discovery that I made with ChatGPT or Copilot or Perplexity, or did you know Notebook LM? I think we're all kind of like very kid-like in this, no matter how many years, whether we got 5 years or 50 years in this industry, you're like, did you know? I think there's something about junior high school and high school that we're all like, did you know? And we're all in this self-discovery and group discovery mode. Is there something there?
I completely agree. I completely agree. And there's a level of joy that comes with that and excitement. And with that comes creativity.
Oh, there we have it. Fantastic. I love working with you, and I'm so glad that you could spend a little bit of time with me today.
I feel the same way.
Melanie, thank you so much. Good luck with your session on Thursday.
Thank you so much.
If you enjoyed this show, be sure to give us a like and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or anywhere else you get your shows. And if you want to take your career from now to next, never eat alone.